Welcome to GameWalks. Happy April Fool's Day.
Oh yeah, it's April Fool's GameWalks.
I should have led with a joke and not led with the fact that it is April Fool's Day.
Yeah, it kind of spoils it. How's it going, Matt?
It's going well, thanks. And you, Jim?
You have a good weekend?
Yeah, played a lot of Bioshock
Hell
Infinite.
yeah, man, played a lot of Bioshock Infinite.
Finally, I mean, we're like so behind the curve because we had GDC last week.
Yeah, I should have finished that like last Tuesday, but had to wait a little bit. How you liking it?
Well, I told myself I wasn't going to go crazy on it. I was just going to play for a few hours.
Just a couple hours, you know,
and then just let it last. But I just couldn't put it down. I've been playing
12 hours in, yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so I'm like 13, I think. I'm getting near the end.
It's been a really enjoyable experience so far.
I really liked it. I mean, like it's one of those things. You know, if like God of War 2 were like the swan song for like the previous console generation.
Yep.
I kind of feel like Infinite is like the swan song for this console generation. It's like this is the pinnacle of all the production values and presentation and storytelling and gameplay that all kind of wrapped into one about what this generation's been about, and it's great. I mean,
certainly the critics agree with you. Well, let's break it down. What are some of the systems that you think are just like really make this game incredible?
Well, I mean, Bioshock was such a good game. Like, I loved Bioshock 1. Obviously, there's a lot of similarities to that. So it is a little bit more the same in terms of that. But, so it's not as much about, like, the amazing new gameplay. It's just so well executed. For me, it's the atmosphere. I mean, that world they've created is just crazy.
Yeah,
it's just like,
really
it's
cool.
like something you would have never imagined.
One thing I thought was really cool with the world was they decided to start by showing you the world in the peak of its heyday, you know? Like with all the other Bioshock games, you go down to Rapture and it's already a city in ruin.
Yeah.
And it's a cool environment to explore and figure out how it got to these ruins. But with Columbia, it's just you zone in there and it's an awesome city that
and like
you want to live
as you go through, it starts to get destroyed and you know, landmarks get crushed and like.
And it's clearly going to end the way that a city like Rapture.
Yeah. So like Columbia is a character in itself that starts to get just kind of diluted over the course of the game. So.
I also really love the storytelling technique they're doing with the male and female character that are always bickering and always around you.
Yeah.
Can't go into any details on that because it'd be a little spoilery, but I just love that you always run into them.
Yep.
And it's a really cool device.
Yeah.
It's a really cool plot device.
So, I mean, I'm just liking that. I love how the game is balanced, actually. Like, I'm exploring every nook and cranny, and I'm finding a lot of the extra coins and, like, you know, locksmith rooms and stuff like that. But I always feel, like, strapped for cash. Like, there's always, like, so much stuff I want to buy in the game. Upgrades for my special powers and upgrades for my guns. And I just never have enough. So I think I feel really rewarded when I explore a certain area and find like 100 coins. Like, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And that persists throughout the entire game. So I think they did a great job balancing that economy, which I think we talked about like last week or the week before, how like Tomb Raider, I never felt pinched on anything. I had like so many upgrade points. I felt so powerful and I never ran out of ammo. And Bioshock, I think, does a great job. If I run out of ammo, I have to switch weapons. I have to, think about the different special powers I'm using.
Yeah.
So I just think they did a great job. I played both games on hard, and I think it's been a decent challenge on hard. Not impossible.
They also do a really cool thing in Bioshock with the character death system, where when you die, you're revived and you get some more health and some more plasmids, and you lose a little bit of money. But so are the enemies, so you're just revived slightly outside of the combat area, but any enemies you've killed are still dead.
Yep.
The boss's health would, of course, reset, but generally speaking, it's like a very forgiving way. It's like you died, you know that you died, you're like, damn, I wish I could have done better. But if there's a really difficult encounter, you can just brute force through it by killing a couple of guys,
It's a very smooth transition back to life. But you lose, like, I think it's like 50 coins when you die. Like, I'm always killing myself for that. I'm like, oh, gosh, dang it. Like, I wanted those. And that it just plays back into that kind of pinch of like, oh, like, it feels painful to me, even though gameplay-wise, not a lot has changed.
I thought that was really cool. One interesting note I had on the story, obviously Dishonored is a game from last year that borrowed very heavily from Bioshock in terms of having mechanical weapons and also pseudo-magical abilities, sort of like the plasmids, and telling an interesting and emergent story with a dark plot and a lot of twists. So clearly a game that drew a lot of inspiration from Bioshock. In Dishonored, I think the developers did a much better job of letting you, the player, tell a story. They do things where, like, you can choose to go this way or that way. You could choose to be stealthy or violent. You can choose to have some morality in terms of letting someone live or die and advancing the story.
A lot more Deus Ex.
Yeah, in Bioshock, they try to elude that stuff exists. Like, sometimes the tip will be try not shooting first and see what happens. Every time I've tried not shooting first, I just get annihilated.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And they also try to have these morality choices, which I found very uncommon. I saw them a lot more in the beginning. Where it'll be pull the left trigger to do this or the right trigger to do that.
Yeah.
But they don't feel like they have any real consequence. So I think Bioshock has a more interesting world than Dishonored and tells a more interesting story, but I think that the way that they tell the story was a little better in Dishonored.
Yeah, well, I mean, Dishonored is a great game. I mean, one of the Game of the Year contenders from last year. So they're both really good. Bioshock is a lot more linear than Dishonored. I think they're both great representations of this last leg of the kind of console generation.
Yep.
Different games, but both just great kind of first-person games.
Both games that I couldn't put down. I'm very excited to finish up Infinite tonight. I can't wait to.
Yeah, I'm going to finish up tonight. I'm really tempted to go play. Is it 1999 mode, which is like the hardcore, like you can't die mode. I don't know if I'll have time for it, but I'm very tempted. Like, I'd love to go through the world again and really challenge. But I'm really loving it so far. Everyone should pick it up. I'm playing on PC and it looks fantastic.
PC with the Xbox gamepad, which is very silly.
I am. Well, I've got hooked up to a projector now, and so it's kind of like away from my computer, and having the keyboard and stuff would be a little awkward on my couch. So it's all good. You know, I'm used to it now.
We ran into a developer at GDC who worked on it, and he was just filled with so much pride in the game.
Yeah.
And it was just like, you could really just tell. He was wearing his Bioshock Infinite shirt, and he said, you know, I'm really grateful that this game happened later in my career so that I have all these experiences to draw on and sort of realize how incredible this project that I worked on, you know, truly was in contrast to everything else that he had done. It just seemed like it must be such a proud and cool moment to be a part of this development team, to release such a great game and also have the fans, the critics, the sales, like everyone agree and universally acknowledge that it is a great game.
It's like winning the World Series or the Super Bowl, you know, for game development. And kudos to that team. They did a great job. I've read articles where they worked very hard to get to this point. And so, you know, all the accolades I think are well earned. And I hope they continue to make great games for the next generation as well, and they all stick together. That'd be really cool.
Yep.
So I noticed that another game was released last week, and we can talk about kind of the differences, is the new Army of Two game.
I haven't
Devil's
even followed
Cartel.
this at all.
I haven't followed it, except I was looking up the Metacritic of Bioshock.
So I put it on our March Madness bracket at work as a joke.
Probably the last one.
Just to see what people think. How's it doing?
Terrible. So I was checking out the Metacritic for Bioshock. I'm like, dude, is it 94? Is it 95? It's 96 on PC, so that's cool.
Wow.
And I noticed over on the right a little yellow number for Army of Two, which is like a 56.
Wow.
And you just gotta wonder, why oh why would EA first make another Army of Two? I really don't think it was a great series. It was already in like the 60s and 70s for the other ones. But why would you also release it the same day as Bioshock? Like, you're going after action gamers, and you're thinking that you're gonna compete.
I guess the counterpoint there is maybe they didn't even think they were going to compete. Maybe they knew that they had a bargain bin game on their hands.
It's just a throwaway.
And it doesn't matter when you release it. It's going to have legs. It's going to be $25 at GameStop really soon, and it'll stay there for a long time.
No, but you can't do that anymore. I mean, we've been talking about this. You can't release a 55 rated game that probably still cost, you know,
more than $10 million.
$20 million to make, and
plus the opportunity cost of what that studio could have been doing. Maybe they're not a great enough development team to create the next Call of Duty, but they certainly could be making, like, you know, downloadable content for Battlefield.
Yeah,
or
they could have helped Dead Space be better. They could have done a lot of stuff. So that was just a really interesting perspective for me when you think about some of these great games coming out, and then also what some of the other publishers are trying to put out as well. And
did you, looking forward a little bit to games I'm actually really excited about, did you happen to see the new Red Band trailer for The Last of Us?
I saw something on TV the other day.
Yeah, they aired the trailer at the end of The Walking Dead.
Yes, that's right.
Which was actually totally appropriate, because when you watch that trailer, it really lends itself to the Walking Dead audience.
I like zombie, post-apocalyptic stuff.
So The Last of Us is the new Naughty Dog game, makers of Uncharted. And it's been, 3 years in development now? And it's coming out very soon.
Yeah, probably 2
and,
or 3.
They're doing some great things with characters and storytelling and environment. And I just have great expectations for this game.
Yeah, I do too. Is it coming out in June, I think?
Yeah, and it's coming out in a relatively empty time frame.
See, that's smart. That's what I'm talking about. Like,
give it some breathing room.
Give it some breathing room. I'll be, done with all my March Madness games by then.
Although I gotta say, Tomb Raider versus Bioshock, I think that was reasonable, launching 2 weeks ahead of it.
That's fine. 2 weeks is fine.
When you know that your game is going to be good, but not as good as this one, you want to get out a little bit ahead of it.
Yep.
Give it that breathing space. So I don't fault the Tomb Raider guys, but almost every other game that came out, SimCity a week before StarCraft 2, I think that was a mistake.
Yeah. Yep. And and the God of War and Gears of War games trying to squeeze in there.
Those both just got swept under the rug for me.
Yeah.
I actually do want to play the new God of War because I've always really loved that franchise, even though it didn't get the critical reviews that we were maybe hoping for. But it's not going to beat out Bioshock or Tomb Raider.
No, not for your time. I'm really looking forward to The Last of Us, but I think honestly that's the next game that I have on my radar as a must play. I can't think of anything, excuse us, between April and May that off the top of my head that's a standout. I'll have to check the release schedule. But, so we get some breathing room here to catch up on your March Madness games.
Well, I'm very excited to go home and play some Bioshock Infinite.
Heck yeah, man. We'll have to talk about it tomorrow.
Yeah, I can't wait about the ending.
Yeah, we'll try not to spoil it too much. All right.
Good stuff. See you later.
That's GameWalks. See ya.